Have you ever stopped to think about just how much life there is on Earth? I mean, hundreds of thousands of species of beetles, but only one species of us. It's wild. And for decades, ecologists have been wrestling with a huge question. Does all this variety actually matter? So today, we're going to dig into why having a ton of different species isn't just nice to look at. It's absolutely critical to the health of our entire planet.
All right, here's the game plan. We'll start with that old idea. Do more species really mean more stability? Then we'll get clear on what stable even means in biology. From there, we'll look at some incredible real-world evidence, break it all down with a fantastic analogy called the rivet popper hypothesis, and then we'll bring it all home to see why every single one of those species is so important. So let's jump right in with that big foundational question. It's something scientists have been debating for a long time. What's the actual value of having so many different kinds of life all packed together? I mean, it kind of seems obvious, right? More variety has to be a good thing. But, science can't run on gut feelings. Ecologists had to know for sure. If you've got one forest with 100 species and another with 1,000, does that massive difference actually change how the whole system works? And for ages, the general thinking was, yep, it does. It was just sort of accepted wisdom that the more species you have, the more stable the community is. A diverse ecosystem was a tough, resilient one. But to actually prove that, you first have to agree on what you mean by stable. And that leads us to the next crucial step. Before you can go out and measure something like stability, you gotta define it. So what exactly makes a biological community stable? Well, scientists pin it down to 3 key things. First, its productivity, the amount of life it's churning out, doesn't go on a wild roller coaster ride from year to year. Second, it can take a punch. It can either resist disturbances like a drought or a fire, or it can bounce back really fast. And third, it's strong enough to keep invasive alien species from taking over. Okay, so now we have a clear definition. The next move? Test it in the real world. And this is where the incredible work of ecologist David Tilman comes into play. Tilman didn't just sit around and theorize. Nope, he got his hands dirty. He set up these long-term experiments using outdoor plots of land. He could actually control how many species were in each plot, and then he just watched. For years, this was a total game changer for ecological research. So what did he find? The results were fascinating. The plots with more species, they had way less variation in their biomass year after year. Check 1 for stability. He also found that more diversity actually led to higher productivity overall. This was some of the first hard experimental proof that yes, the number of species really matters. But let's be real, scientific data can feel a bit abstract. To make a concept like this really click, you need a powerful analogy. And that brings us to the absolutely brilliant rivet popper hypothesis. This idea comes from a Stanford ecologist named Paul Ehrlich. He wanted a way to explain the danger of losing species that anyone could get, not just fellow scientists. So he compared an entire ecosystem to an airplane. Here's how it works. The airplane itself is the ecosystem. All the different species in it, those are the thousands of rivets holding the plane together. So when a species goes extinct, it's like someone is popping a rivet out of the plane. And here's the key part. Some of those rivets, the ones on the wings, are way more important than others. Those represent key species. Ehrlich pointed out, but if you just pop one little rivet, the plane is probably going to be fine. But what happens when you pop another? And another? He said that as more and more rivets are removed, the plane becomes dangerously weak over a period of time. It's that slow, creeping danger of biodiversity loss. Think about it like this. If you lose a rivet from a passenger seat, maybe some obscure insect, you probably won't even notice. The flight goes on. But what happens if you lose a rivet from the wing? That's a key species, like a major pollinator or a top predator. Losing that could mean catastrophic, immediate failure. And the scary part is, we don't always know which species are the wing rivets until they're gone. So what does this all mean for us right now? Well, this whole analogy isn't just a clever story. It's about our role and our future on this planet. The science from the field and this powerful analogy all point to the exact same unavoidable conclusion. Rich biodiversity isn't a luxury. It's not just nice to have. It's a fundamental requirement for our own survival. We rely on these stable, complex systems for literally everything: the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat. And that leaves us with one final, pretty chilling thought. In Ehrlich's analogy, we're the passengers on the plane.
And we're the ones popping the rivets. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, which species will be the last one? Which rivet will be the one that's one too many? It's a question we really can't afford to find out the hard way.